What's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video. I hope you guys are doing well, and today I'm going to be talking about Trey Murphy from Virginia, one of my favorite 3-and-D players in the 2021 NBA draft. And hopefully this is a prospect that is on the New York Knicks radar, as we're looking for that wing to be next to RJ for plenty of years to come. Or maybe he just ends up being a very solid glue guy off the bench. I feel like everyone needs a 3-and-D player, someone that can consistently shoot the basketball and get after on the defense side of the basketball. But I do not think he's your prototypical 3-and-D player. He does bring some potential, even though he did play 3 years of collegiate basketball, 2 at Rice and transferring over to Virginia. But let me know down below also, do you think Reggie Bullock will be gone in free agency? And do you think Trey Murphy is the guy moving forward? Thank you guys so much for the great amount of support. Smash that like button, click that subscribe button for more content. Let's get right into it, yo.
Down to 7. Beard outside the switch. Doncic goes
So starting off with his strengths, I feel like we really have to talk about his physical profile. It's kind of impossible not to. We're talking about someone who's 6'9" with a 7-foot wingspan. That definitely brings you some switchability when it comes to multiple positions out there on the court. Helps you out on offense and defense when it comes to really defending the passing lane, defending shots outside on the perimeter, and really shutting off these smaller guards. But I do think he is something that he really has to work on when it comes to his body that we'll talk about later, but it could definitely help him finish at the basket as well, having that extra length and being 6'9". I really do like his wiry build, but again, we'll get into something later that he really needs to work on when it comes to his overall body. But I do think that is just a perfect strength to have with that type of physical profile when it comes to the wing position in the NBA. Now getting into his defense, I think a perfect way to describe his defense is disruptive. His wingspan really just disrupts all ball handlers out there on the court. Like, he literally just doesn't need to reach at all, because just in general having his wingspan out there on the court makes players feel very uncomfortable. He is switchable, he's very good at defending the passing lane, and he's really good at defending the pick and roll, but he's really good at closing out, at fighting through screens, closing out on shooters, and bottling up offensive players. I love watching him on the defense side of the basketball. And I love his comfortability out there on the court, that he knows he doesn't have to defend someone so close if it's the right personnel, because he has that wingspan that could help him out and also defend the passing lane. So he really plays the right distance on the defense side of the basketball. And now getting into an underrated part of his game, it's definitely his cutting. Because when people think of the prototypical 3-and-D player, they just think of spot up shooting and defending. But no, he cuts very well, he covers a lot of ground. He's not a Dominique Wilkins or Zach LaVine, but it definitely does bring a whole other dimension to his game, because people think he's just going to stand outside on the perimeter, and before you know it, he's cutting and covering a lot of ground, and he could throw it down pretty viciously. When you think of a 3-and-D player, you really don't think of that, but he makes some eye-popping dunks out there on the court, and I'm not talking about in transition. He could do it in the half-court setting as well. I think a very important thing to really think about when it comes to any basketball player, 3-and-D player, center, point guard, whatever position it is out there on the court, is what kind of person are you getting? What kind of teammate, player? Is he coachable? And Trey Murphy is definitely coachable. We're talking about someone who's a student of the game. He definitely knows his lane. He stays in his own lane. He doesn't try to do too much. He doesn't think it's some playground, and he tries to act like Kyrie. Again, he knows his role, and I love that about him. He's a team player. He always puts the team first, not even averaging 1 turnover per game. And now obviously getting into his shooting, because this is going to be one of the main reasons he's drafted. He's one of the most natural shooters out of the 2021 NBA draft. He can catch it on the 1-2, the hop, a lightning quick release. Nothing phases him when someone's closing out on him. When he's wide open, it's literally the exact same shot. He just brings so much consistency, NBA range. I love seeing him shoot the basketball out there on the court. And his second year at Rice, on 7 attempts, he actually shot 37% from downtown. He shot 40% in general. In college from the outside, you take a look at his junior year when he transferred over to Virginia, he showed on a very solid sample size that he could shoot over 40% once again. He's a natural shooter of the ball, shot 90% at the free throw line, a part of the 50-40-90 club. He's a natural. I love seeing him shoot the ball. He has even shown flashes of performing off the dribble and shooting off the dribble as well. This is someone that has even shown that he can recognize mismatches and go to work. And I would definitely like to see him add that to his game, or really brush up on that and polish that, because I really do think that is something that's going to translate to the NBA level, because he is 6'9" and there's going to be plenty of mismatches. And now getting into his weaknesses, and I really do think it's the physical part of the game, because he is someone that's not the strongest. Like I said, he's 6'9" with a 7-foot wingspan, but he only weighs 209 pounds. So I do think a lot of those things that he has issues with can be fixed with getting stronger. Rebounding is definitely a step or something he really needs to take a look at. Being 6'9", averaging 3 rebounds per game, he was just not able to front anyone. He got killed down low in the paint. He was just boxed out like crazy when it came to the physical part of the game. And he really does struggle with more physical and stronger offensive players, really bullying him to the rack. And he also struggled with physicality of driving at the hoop, and it's only going to get stronger at the NBA level. So just imagine if he ends up getting these tougher assignments of defending NBA threes. He definitely has to be ready when it comes to the strength of the NBA. It's a whole other beast. Now, if I'm being kind of nitpicky, he doesn't really have the production to back up his defensive prowess on that side of the basketball, of course, or his defense. We know what he's capable of. He's switchable. He's a versatile defender. He can close out. He could defend passing lanes. He has this length that's amazing. He could bottle up offensive players, but the production isn't there. This isn't someone that averaged 2 to 3 steals. He didn't even exactly average 1 steal specifically. He averaged like 0.8, but I know there's going to be people that point that out. But I believe if he gets stronger when he bottles up offensive players like in the future, he's actually going to come up with the basketball more, because there were several plays that he bottled up offensive players, but he just didn't come up with the basketball. And sometimes he could be a little upright, but that is just nitpicking. But you do play better defense when you're down to the ground more. And another thing that's kind of nitpicky, because he is just that good of a shooter of the basketball, the 50-40-90 club stuff you could say is overrated, because he only attempted 7 shots per game, but he did shoot a good enough volume from the outside to really get credit. He only went to the free throw line like 2 times, but I do think he's that natural of a shooter of the ball to really put those numbers, like, I'm putting the numbers into context, but you could also say like he is that good of a shooter of the basketball. And transferring from Rice, a smaller program, they didn't really build the offense around him. He didn't try to do so much, like they didn't really ask him to do a lot. When you really do put his career into context, when it came to that 1 year, his junior year at Virginia. So yes, they didn't really run the offense through him a lot. This isn't someone they just had cut, get open like all the time. They didn't really design plays like crazy for him. And I would say if he wants to become more of a versatile offensive player, his shot creating really has ways to go. I talked about his potential, but those are flashes. That's like what he has shown at times, but his handle isn't the greatest. He does lack like physicality of getting to the basket to really become more of a natural score of the ball, and he doesn't really have that quick first step. So again, I do think he needs to get stronger and really tighten that handle, in my opinion. And sometimes he needs to rely on his athleticism more. He's not Zach LaVine or Dominique Wilkins, but sometimes he can force a shot from the outside, and I would like to see him attack. He doesn't have to be some Kevin Durant level scorer of a 3-way score from mid-range territory outside and inside, but sometimes you would like to see him take a step out of his comfort zone. But I really do appreciate that he knows his role out there on the court. If he does go to the basket more, that's going to put more pressure on the defense, and the defense will be very confused. But a thing he really needs to work on is his playmaking. He just simply wasn't a great playmaker, like, at all. He didn't average a lot of turnovers because he knows that he's not Lonzo. He knows he's not Magic Johnson, Jason Kidd, Steve Nash. Like, he knows he's not one of those, like, playmakers out there on the court. That's one of the main reasons he didn't even average 1 turnover per game, because he knows his role. Like I said, I believe I said that like a million times, but he can make some basic nice reads there and there, but he does have ways to go as a playmaker. But if you're just asking for a 3-and-D player, you don't need someone that's really going to scan the floor like crazy, in my opinion. In conclusion, I think he could be a good 3-and-D player. I don't think he'll be a star. I don't think he'll be solid. I do think he could be an above solid player or an above average player. Again, not a star, but I do think he could be a starter, at the worst, a very productive role player. But let me know down below your thoughts. Do you think the New York Knicks should go out there and draft him with the 19th or 21st overall pick? And as always, guys, have a humble day or night. Peace out, y'all.